Welcome to the Level Up Your Band podcast, episode 76. Hello, and welcome back to the Level Up Your Band podcast. My name is Gavin Patterson. I'm back with Julian Pombo.
Hi.
Wee bit of latte ASMR there.
Yes.
For you,
a little
weirdos
bit
out
of
there.
latte tasting ASMR. Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm fine. Enjoying the weather.
Yeah. And we're
been warm.
kind of, not quite, but kind of back to normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some different parts of the country are being a little bit more gung-ho than others, but it's getting there. It's getting there. We can actually have people round at each other's houses now, which is quite nice.
Legally, you mean?
Legally.
Not that we were doing it for the last year.
No, of course not.
Not at all, no.
No, nobody was doing that. No.
Definitely not.
Nobody was seeing friends and family.
Or having barbecues or
having
anything
barbecues
like
or anything like that.
that.
Yeah, anyway, so that's kind of a nice thing, you know. Anyway, so one of the exciting things about the world opening up and things happening is that I've finally got an episode where I'm kind of talking from experience. This is something that I've done recently, right? So I've got fresh thoughts about it.
Yeah!
Which is good for once. So today we're going to be talking, we did an episode way back about recruiting musicians. So this is more, and we touched on, you know, what to do if you were being auditioned or you know whatever, getting tried out and stuff. So today this episode it's just going to be about that, because I recently went in for an audition with a band, like an actual audition, not like a sort of I'll get into the nitty gritty of it.
So basically, it's just you just give them your CV and you just say, "Oh, I've got degrees, and I've got a cover letter."
Yeah, I turned up in a suit, and they were all
Briefcase.
sitting there, you know,
In a panel.
Yeah, in a panel.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I just
Did you have a PowerPoint presentation and a projector? Yeah, and a laser pen.
Oh man!
And ring
if
binders.
you hire me as your bass player, your profits will go from this to this.
Is that exactly how it went? Yeah.
It's exactly no. It's not how it went
Okay.
at all. But yeah. So I'm going to talk about how to prepare for an audition. So obviously, well, with music, it's because it's not like an established, you know, it's not like it's been going on for ages, but it doesn't have the same kinds of like regulations as like, you know, a corporate job, because it's not a corporate thing. We're all self-employed sole traders sort of doing our own thing.
Yeah.
So every single audition you're going to do is going to be completely different. So I'm going to give you some tips. These are things I was thinking about before auditioning and then after auditioning. So there's a couple of things there that I would have probably done a little differently. Thinking back on it, but so things to do beforehand when you get auditioned. When you get an audition for a band, there's going to be a brief that you need to fulfill, right? It doesn't, you know, and this is going to be like, it doesn't matter if it's like a band or if it's like a cruise ship job. There's going to be a lot of similar things, right? Mm-hmm. But tip number one is stick to the brief. as closely as possible.
What do you mean?
If it's, you kind of want to strike a balance here with sort of like making yourself memorable, but also not being a total show off or doing the complete opposite of what the brief is, right? So if this band asks you to learn these 2 specific songs, learn those 2 songs and get to know them really well. Don't be like, I'm sure it would be really impressive if somebody turned up and was like, yeah, I've learned the whole EP. And it's like, okay, that's cool. But a part of me kind of goes, that's not what I asked you to do, though.
Right, okay.
Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's cool that that person there in that situation had that initiative to go, I'm going to go above and beyond and learn more than just the 2 songs. But at some point, you got to ask yourself, is this person ever just going to do the task, or are they always going to find a way to sort of like do something extra? Do you know what I mean? And it sounds kind of bad, but but I mean,
well, I have auditioned people in the past, and maybe we say, oh, we're going to play these 3 songs, can you learn them? And then they come in and they're like, oh, I've learned 3 songs. I listened to your EP and I've learned that too. But they do it in this sort of, oh yeah, I've learned the whole thing, yeah. And it's this kind of smug thing. I've done auditions myself. I've been in auditions and I have done that.
Yeah.
I've went and learned the whole EP, but I haven't said that. I didn't tell the band. So maybe during the rehearsal, the band would go, oh, we've got this other tune from, do you want to maybe just jam through? But, little do they know I've actually learned this entire song, and then I play along. And then they're really surprised, like, oh, wow, that was really natural. I was like, well, yeah, I had a wee listen to the other stuff. I was like, oh, that's cool. But you don't want to come in right off the bat like, I learned your entire back catalogue. like a smug git.
Yeah.
It's kind of a, oh, wow, this person actually cares to some extent, which is nice, I guess.
I mean, yeah, no, totally. And what I was going to say is, don't go too far above and beyond, but there's other ways that you can go above and beyond that are like, so in my case, what I ended up doing, and I only did this because it helped me learn the song better, and then it meant when I went into the audition, there was 0 chances of me making a mistake. So I just transcribed the tunes. I transcribed the bass line, as closely as I was bothered to. Like, for most of it, I was just like, okay, I kind of know what it goes like here. So, and they're clearly improvising, so I just put the chords there.
So you just played it off a sheet?
Yeah, so I just brought in a sheet, and I didn't really look at it that much. I just had it in the corner there.
Yeah.
Just to sort of, because I knew the songs already. Yeah, and that wasn't anything special for me to do, but it did, in a way, and I didn't make that much of a thing about it. They did ask me, so, oh, do you have any questions about the songs? And I said to them, I should be okay. I transcribed them, and I've got them here, just in case we need to run through any bits, so I know exactly where we're going from. And they were like, okay, that's cool. So there's an example of like, a way that you could.
But if you don't read music.
Chord
charts.
Yeah, chord charts.
Anyone, you can make up a chord chart.
I mean, to be fair, like that's what mine was.
Right, it wasn't like tab or notation.
It was like bits of notation here and there, but really the majority of it was a chord chart, The only thing I'd written in were, like hits and things like that, like actual, like, oh, that's clearly a significant bass part
moment
thing here, so I'm going to make sure that I write that in so I don't get it wrong at all. That was thing number 1. Listen to what the band has previously recorded. That's another thing you could do. We talked about that already. But just helps you sort of, you familiarize
Courtesy
yourself.
as well.
Yeah, totally. You familiarize yourself with the band, and
If a conversation strikes up, you go, "Oh, I love the vibe on XYZ track. It's
yeah.
very like this." This guy's actually made an effort and listened to our music, which is nice.
Yeah, totally. Learn the songs, that's a given. And make sure your instrument's in good condition. Make sure you have everything. What had happened? My instrument was in good condition.
Did you take the P bass?
No, I did not.
You took the Schecter?
Yeah, I took the Schecter, obviously, because the kind of music that was playing is more modern, kind of rock stuff, right?
Okay.
What had happened, one of the things that I'm not so pleased about was, and I kind of apologized beforehand because it is a total mess. My pedal board, we had a good laugh about it. We were just like, I need to get this fixed. It's the Velcro on it is all crappy, and I'm just basically gonna take it all off and put something a little bit more hardcore on it. We had a good laugh about that, but that was one thing I was just like, oh, that doesn't really look great. I have nice pedals and like I'm taking care of them, but it just looks
pedal
a
board's
bit,
letting you down.
Pedal boards can't, yeah, which was funny for a bass player. It was funny, like seeing the other two guitarists, lead guitarist and rhythm guitarist and singer, and they've got these enormous, really, because that's the kind of music they were playing. But these gorgeous pedal boards, and I'm sitting there with my 4 pedals, like. But then again, like most of the music that I'd play, I don't really need much except from a distortion and an octave and tuner. Yeah. Reverb on a bass.
You need to get a bass wah.
I do have one.
Do you have a bass wah?
Yeah, well, I don't have like a wah pedal. I have a
auto wah.
I have an envelope filter, so which is more or less the same thing. You play it ever so slightly. It reacts to how hard you play.
Yeah.
So and it does sound pretty good. It's not bad. I wouldn't mind something a little bit more tactile though.
Get something that can double as a volume pedal. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. Anyhow, but yeah, that was kind of one thing. One place where I did save my ass a little bit was. I forgot. I have a bag full of cables that I left in the car, and Rachel had the car for the whole day, and I was like, "No!" Okay. So, but it's okay because studio. I just sneakily went in before the audition. I was like, "Can I?" Then they had no clue. And I was just like, can I borrow some cables, please? And they were like, yeah, that's fine. Thank you. But yeah, make sure you have everything and everything's there. It's in order.
Because it's funny because the smallest thing can put them off you. The smallest, tiniest thing. He forgot his
jack leads.
His jack leads. Oh, what's he going to be like with everything else? Like that genuinely small things like that. In a normal context, they're so tiny, but in an audition, when you're meeting someone for the first time, those tiny little things are amplified to like 100 because they are auditioning you and 2 others. You say, so they're like scrutinizing every single thing they see.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Even the smallest little hiccup. That's why it's so. You know this, like that's why it's like you get nervous or it's like you're under pressure because you know that's what's happening. Mm-hmm. So it's like you want to make a good impression right off the bat. So yeah, just prepare.
Yeah, be really prepared.
Yeah, beforehand.
It's really important. Cool. So that's a couple of things you can do before. Now that you're in there, a couple of thoughts that I had. The first one, actually, this kind of goes back, and it's probably the reason why I was nervous. I am quite a nervous individual because I am slightly more introvert. I'm not a proper introvert in that
you're more introverted than extroverted.
I am more introverted than extroverted, so I take a while to sort of warm up to social situations, especially now, because social situations are,
So unique.
yeah, like I used to be okay, but I was kind of shocked by how it just totally got me by surprise, But I was kind of nervous, and a part of me was thinking, well, I try to rationalize myself out of the nervousness. But at the end of the day, you don't have to. You don't be nervous. But if you are nervous, something I was thinking about was I would have probably been quite good to just be honest and put it out there, and and if they're, and it's as easy as just like, because it does take a huge weight off your shoulders. So, oh, how you doing, man? Yeah, I'm good. A little nervous, but I'm looking forward to it. And you're being open and honest with them, and it's one of those things, like once you start doing it, it looks good for you, but also just it's a weight off your shoulders, and the vibes will be a little better. I thought the vibes were fine in the audition. Like, I got on pretty well with them, and I was able to sort of have a good chat with them and stuff. But after a second, I did have like 2 minutes where my brain was like, ah, but then I was fine. It was a little bit like, just because I was just in a room trying to play it cool with 3 other guys that I just didn't know at all. But it was all okay. But if you are nervous, don't sweat it. And if it gets really bad, don't be afraid to just sort of just say, just like, they're not gonna. I wouldn't take that as a sign of weakness. If somebody was just like, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it, I'm a little nervous, I'd be like, that's cool, man. Don't worry about it. It's all right. To be honest, I relate to people that come in and they're like, they're nervous, because I'm like, yeah, I get that too. So
See, I don't.
no.
Yeah.
Stone cold.
Yeah. Man of stone. I don't get that nervous anymore.
No.
It's got to be really something I'm not comfortable with before I'm nervous. And just I really get nervous behind a set of drums, because that's my happy place. So I can't be nervous in my happy place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But playing keys, yeah, I can get nervous for gigs for playing keys, like really nervous, because I'm not a good keys player. I'm an okay. If I got into a sticky wicket, as they say, I wouldn't necessarily be able to get myself out of it. But if I get into a sticky wicket behind drums, it's fine. It's no problem. I'm so competent on drums, I can just magic my way out of the problem. But with keyboard, I'm not. I'm nowhere near as confident on keys. So I think it depends on the instrument.
Yeah, totally.
And there's occasionally some gigs where I'm like, on drums, I'm like, oh, this will be a wee bit interesting. But I'm never. It's more like excitement. I haven't had nerves since I was.
That's true.
17 maybe.
I mean, like,
for drums.
That's the thing. Sometimes it can be difficult to tell the two apart. Sometimes, So, and usually it's a mixture of both. You're excited and like, nervous. But don't worry about it. If you are, it's fine. Just get it out there. And
I've been told it's normal.
Yeah, it is normal. It's totally normal. Just get it out there. They're not gonna, they're not. They shouldn't judge you for it. Like, you've been very honest, and you've told them how you're feeling. That's a commendable. That's a virtuous thing to do. So, and then once you got that out of the way, run through any questions you have about the tunes that you're going to be playing
before you play them.
Right. So for me in this case, I was just double checking baseline stuff.
Right.
So I was just like, when I heard it, I was saying to them, like when I listened to it on the track, it kind of sounded like this, and I was like, is that what you want? And then they were like, yeah, that's fine, clarified any other stuff like that. It's important. It means you don't then just jump into it absolutely blind,
Yeah, years and years ago, like 10 years ago, actually no, like 11, 12 years ago, something like that, I auditioned for a band I was playing drums in, and the previous drummer, they had recordings, but the recordings were bloody awful, and the drummer was bloody awful as well. So I had to try and interpret what this guy was playing, and he was playing out of time, and it was sloppy, and I'm like, I think I know what he's trying to do. So I had to kind of interpret what I think he was trying to do, and then do it.
Yeah, but do it right.
But do it right. And I had that conversation with the band. Like, in this part of the song, he kind of played like this, but do you want it like this? And they were like, yeah, that's better. Or no, it's more like this. Or because the recordings were so like, if you're moving into a band that's maybe not recorded in 5 years, and the recordings they do have are like demos, and it's really hard to hear, and you don't really know what they're playing.
Yeah.
It's handy to just ask, because like you're not always going to get like stellar sounding records where you can just know exactly what the person is playing. And if it's technically complex music, it can sometimes be hard to like hear like what are they doing there, especially drums. Like
Bass can get pretty bad as well.
Kick drum and like ghost notes and things like that. You start to lose like, where's the emphasis? How is he doing that? Tricky. I know some of the stuff we do, had it not been written down for depths in our band, like that's a big task to go through bar by bar and listen to exactly what's happening. So yeah, if you can like ask those questions in advance and have, if you can manage it, is what you said, like transcribe it so that you know like, all right, this is kind of how it goes. Do that. Ask, is this even right?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to like weird rhythms and time signatures.
Yeah.
I've had experiences of people who try a bit in 7/8. Some bands like they dabble in 7/8, but maybe not in anything else. But like they'll do experimental songs, and they'll maybe do a 7/8 song because maybe the drummer heard 7/8 and was like, "We need to do this," and they've just done it once, but it's not quite 7/8. I'll give you an example. I was recording an album, and one of the songs in this album had a 7/8 passage at the end, but it wasn't. It was more like 15/16 instead of 14/16, which is 7/8. But it wasn't because it was 15/16. It was because he was playing 7/8 bad. So I was like, the rhythm this guy's playing is like really complex, and I'm like, up until this point, I'm not expecting it to be that complex. So I'm like, do you mean it to be this? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, so it's not like it's been thought out to be that complex. It's just that it's meant to be this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like it's worth talking that through, because it could be that they just haven't done it right.
Yeah.
And you don't want to come across like an ass and be like, that's wrong. You didn't mean to do that, because they might have meant to do that, and you just look like an absolute dick because you're like, no, that's technically incorrect. Here is how you actually are supposed to play your own song. I know better.
Yeah, that never looks good. No.
So yeah, small point, but yeah.
Yeah. What else? This kind of goes back to what I was saying before. You do want to make yourself memorable in some way. So don't just walk in and be like, hi, yeah, play bass. Try and
have a personality.
Yeah, be yourself. And I don't like saying, sort of buzzwords or like phrases like that, because you know, like it's so easy to say, but you want to be yourself.
An authentic
As
version of
you want
yourself.
to, yeah, you know, totally. So just like, just be you, because, you know, it's, you know, what happens if they do pick you and then you start being yourself and then they're like, oh wow, we don't like this person at all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Um
100%.
it's actually one of the reasons a lot of this isn't just bands, but just in general relationships fail, you know, because
Yeah, you're not the person
people
I met.
get, yeah, totally, like people get together and they're like the paragons of themselves, and then after a while, like odd things start to like
Yeah, yeah.
trickle in, and you're like, you're not the person that I knew.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, but you were fed a lie.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And people either like can move past it and work with it, because everybody does that. You know, you want to make a good impression, or people are just, you know, don't want to work through it, and
No.
they're like,
Nah.
nah,
Yeah, that's the thing.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm thinking of like at least 10 people that's been like that. Like, you think, oh, these guys really know what they're talking about, or they're really good. And then you spend more than a month in a band with them or whatever, and you're like, oh, okay, it's just all an act. They're actually not that great or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, it's not fun.
no,
It's when people, I hear when people say be yourself, because it's literally impossible to not be yourself, because you are yourself. How can you not be yourself while being yourself? I think what people mean is be an authentic version of yourself.
yeah,
As true to reality as it is. Don't act. Don't pretend.
don't
Don't
yeah.
try to put on a false persona.
Yeah, it's all about, you know, like people just, you know, will put on different masks for different
Occasions, yeah.
situations and say the right
Everyone does
things around the right people. It makes sense why you would do that, but
I know some people who have certain opinions about politics or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is, around some people, and have the exact opposing view with someone else. I'm like, what? So they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm totally for this, I'm totally for that. And then they'll speak to someone else an hour later. Oh yeah, I'm totally against that, totally against that. Just depending on the context of who they're with. Those people you need to give a wide berth. Like, wow. It's just like, how can you... I just couldn't do that.
it's when it's, you know, it's when it's proper. I think that it's really scary when it's like big affirmations, you know.
Yeah, big things, yeah.
Big, huge things, because you can, you know, it's, you know, you can have developing views and things like that.
In the
You
course
can
of an
change your
hour,
mind.
no,
But in the course of an hour, exactly, you can't be talking to somebody and say, I think this and this is amazing, and then talk to the other person that doesn't think it's amazing, go, oh yeah, it's terrible. You can't go, you know. It would be like the equivalent of going up to somebody and being like, oh man, I love me a good steak, and then you go talk to the vegan, you're like, meat's murder.
Yeah, I'm a vegetarian.
You know, like, I'm trying. I'm a vegetarian. I'm trying really hard.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's trying to be authentic across
Yeah.
the whole board, because you'll get found out. You'll get found out if you're acting a certain way, and then later on it's like, oh, okay, things start to change to actually how they are in real life. Yeah.
Anyway, so, but yeah, just be your authentic self. And I think by doing that, you will come across as being more memorable. You're not just going to be another guy who came in and whapped out a bass and played for a bit and then off, you know?
Yes.
A couple of other ways you can make yourself memorable. Ask questions about the band. So this is kind of like, you know, job interviews are like, do you have any questions? I've had a few job interviews and I've never gotten them, probably because for multiple reasons. And one of the reasons is probably because I never bothered to ask any questions, because I didn't care, frankly.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm gonna put it out there. I had an interview for Domino's, and they were like, "Do you have any questions?" And I was like, honestly, it's pizza, man. Like, what questions am I gonna have? Like,
Yeah.
so I was just like, no, I hated that. That was awful.
Yeah.
It was
Yep.
rough. Anyway,
Yeah, I have a couple of mates who worked for Domino's for a time, and yeah,
yeah, it
It's-
crossed my mind once. I was like, I could deliver, I could, and then I was like, but I could not, and I could try and earn money a different way that I actually enjoy.
I've actually never, ever
Never
partaken in a job interview.
Have you not?
I've never sat and done a job interview ever.
Lucky you.
It just does not appeal to me at all. I just thought, like, in school, the only experience I've had of it is like you would have mock-up job interview type things in school. That's the only experience I've had of it.
We never even had that in school. They were like, you're all going to university, right? You're all going to that's what you're going to do. You're going to go to university. You're too dumb to go to university. You're going to go to college.
Right. Well, we had that as well, but they did kind of prep us and like, this is kind of what the things they'll ask you and stuff.
Yeah.
And it just made no sense to me. Like
Yeah.
they always ask you what in this situation, it's job context, obviously, if it's delivering pizzas, if this happens, what would you do? And then you're like, well, I'd do company policy, obviously. But they don't want you to say that.
Is.
They want you to they want to find out how you would handle a certain situation or whatever it is. But it's like, stop asking stupid questions like that. It's like,
Yeah.
you want to know. You don't want to know. Oh, do you have a physics degree? Oh, that's perfect for delivering pizzas. Knowing the fuel economy of your car and measuring out the distance between A and B and becoming fuel efficient. And no, you're not going to do. No, shut up. You're not going to do that.
You know exactly why this person is, like applying for this job.
It's money.
It's money. They just need a job,
Yeah.
right? That's one of the things that always ticked me off about job interviews. They're like, oh, it's just like, listen, buddy, right?
Yep.
I'm just gonna, if you give me this job, I'm gonna do it so well, man, because I actually have more than two brain cells actually rub together, in synergy and create some kind of thoughts and emotions, and I will do the job so good.
Yeah.
Right? Just give it to me. But you can't say that, because if you do that, they'll just be like, oh, that person was a little bit weird and unstable.
Well, that's the job interview is to try and figure out if you are A, intelligent enough to do it, B, conscientious enough to turn up and do it and make it efficient, and probably good enough that you'll be able to work and communicate with others in the job. That's literally it.
Yeah.
If you're a lazy and don't get out of your bed and don't turn up for work, they want to know that prior, so they try and get a background on, what's this guy's grades like? What's he done at school? What past things have you done? Okay, he's quite conscientious. They could just do a personality test and figure that out and done. Do you know what I mean? They don't have to ask these questions because you would, unless they lie, of course. Obviously, your results in a test don't lie. For an exam test, I don't mean a personality test. You can lie in that, but like I understand like why they ask some questions, but some of them are so like pointless to me. It's that I just the idea of working for someone and being responsible for something that doesn't belong to me. I just don't think that's.
Listen,
it's just not my thing.
Like at this point, like there ain't no way I'm getting a job, because there's just a huge, like, nobody takes like, oh yeah, I was a self-employed musician for like 10 plus years. They're like, because nobody takes music as a serious job, which is but I think that's more of a cultural problem and a societal problem
I must be so unemployable.
You and me both, buddy. We're like the most unemployable people ever.
Just because, like, I've been my own boss for 10 years. Like, the idea of someone telling me what to do just makes me go, ah! I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Anyway, that was fun. But back to the topic at hand.
Sorry.
No, because that was... I'm sure there's a lot of people sharing the same frustrations out there who listen to this podcast. Yeah, just ask questions about the band.
Yeah.
You know, it just shows you're actually genuinely interested. Stuff like, how long have you been playing together? You know, what are your influences? Who writes in the band? How do you guys write? You know, like, does somebody like work on an idea and then you jam it out in the rehearsal studio, or like does somebody write all the parts, or how does it work? And you know, and then you get a flavor for how the band operates and stuff, and then that shows to them they're like, oh yeah, like that guy, you know. Later on when they're thinking about who to hire, they're like, well, that guy seemed actually pretty interesting. He was asking questions about how he wrote music, blah 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 blah, you know.
What do you do if the band you're auditioning for is well established to the point that you might have heard of them? Like they're super uber, like 20, 30, 40,000 followers, and they're very, very big.
I've never been in that situation, so I don't know. So I'm going to try and guess. I'm going to give... Yeah, I don't know what I would do.
Because there's some questions that you would ask a band that's got 500 followers that you wouldn't ask. Like, when did you guys start? Or how long have you been going
because
for?
it's probably already there
Very
in
clear.
a Wikipedia page.
Exactly,
somewhere.
yeah.
So I would then ask what their future plans are. Like, what are you guys? What are your current projects at the moment? Are you planning? Are you going on? Are you touring soon? What gigs have you got on the calendar? You know, things like that. And I don't know. Like, what's the most exciting? What's the weirdest venue you've played? What's your funniest gig? You know, things like that.
Don't be intimidated by them.
Don't be intimidated.
I put my foot in it once. There was a band came in and recorded some stuff in here. And just it transpired that they didn't tell me the name of the band. This is probably my fault because I should have asked. But they booked the studio, and they came in and they were kind of different looking. Like their attire, their clothing was very like thought out. They were all like in almost a uniform.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay, this is a bit weird. But I didn't think anything of it. And they had a manager, and I was like, oh, okay, this is something. And we were, I was just sitting in the control room, we were tracking, and I was just talking to the manager. I was like, so how long the guy's been doing this? And they were playing, they were really tight. And I was like, oh, they're really good, really, what's your plans? The same questions I would ask someone who's never done it before. And the guy was just like, he was nice. And I was like, what's the name of the band? And he told me the band. I was like, all right, whatever. And then I go on my lunch break and I'm like, I'm going to look them up. And they had like, I don't know how many tens of thousands of followers. And I was like, oh, they're actually a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Oopsie doopsie. I didn't know. And I looked like an idiot because I didn't know beforehand. So I was treating them like, some
wee guys.
Some wee crappy
that were
bands.
Trying really hard.
Yeah. I was like, and when I came back, I was like, oh God. Right, okay, they've chosen my studio, Jesus. Like, and I didn't even know who they were. So I was like, okay. So, but you have to try not be intimidated by that and just keep ploughing on.
Yeah, totally. So say you do get an audition to be Beyonce's new bass player.
Oh my
but
God.
I think Beyonce's bass player's got that gig for it. She's great, by the way. I can't recall the name off the top of my head, but actually really solid, really, really good bass player. But say you are auditioning to be Beyonce's new bass player. Don't be scared of I would ask the same questions, like that I was kind of saying there, like,
have you played box?
Just like where have you guys played? Like what countries? Is just the sort of like, have you just?
Or what countries haven't you played?
Oh, what countries haven't you played? Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
North Korea.
Antarctica.
But yeah, so don't be intimidated. Just ask. That comes across as like, oh wow, that guy was really, really natural, or that girl was really natural and didn't seem to be phased at all. That was kind of cool, you know. Because you want to be respectful without looking like a total kiss ass at the same time, you know.
Oh my god, I've listened to your music all my life. Oh, I'm such a big fan. And
Yeah.
can I get a selfie?
I mean, if I did get an audition for, I'm trying to think.
Something quite big, but not too big. Something like Biffy Clyro, or I'm thinking local. Something that's big, but it's not the Beatles, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like,
Or like some other kind of band, like if we're talking Biffy Clyro, I guess like American football, which you talked about before, or whatever.
Something that's quite big, but
something that's pretty big. I would probably just put it out there and be like, I am a fan. I love the EPs that you've released. You know, it doesn't. You know, you're not gonna look like a total weirdo.
just be a wido and just be like, oh, I've never heard of you guys.
Who are you guys again?
Yeah.
What? European soccer? What?
European soccer. Rugby.
Chinese rugby? What? Anyway, but yeah, just have fun.
Yeah.
You know, with the audition, don't be too serious. And then if they ask you about your commitments as well, this kind of goes back to the first point I made about being honest. Be really honest about your commitments. Don't hide anything. You know, if you already play in a few bands, just put that out there. So if they're asking me, what are your commitments? Like what do you do? I'll tell them. Like I'm in a wedding band that is just started taking off. So I've got like minimum like a gig a week. I'm in a full-time project that I started with a bunch of other people way back. That I'm kind of like a big part of.
Like any day jobs or family or whatever.
Yeah. I teach. I tell them, all that stuff. I play in these other bands too. Just be honest with them.
And if you're auditioning someone and they're like, what's your commitments like? And then they're like, oh, I've got a full-time job and a newborn baby. It's like, well, do you really have enough time for this? Like,
yeah, totally. What I was gonna say there, because I feel like some people might not put everything out there that they do. Even if if you do have, say I was auditioning, and at this point I was auditioning for a band, and I did have, 2 kids or whatever, and one of them is like a newborn. I would just put that out right. Just tell them. You have to tell them. They're not going to be like, oh well, he's clearly too busy, even though he plays really well. He's clearly too busy, so we won't get him. Because I think my thought process is that if a band actually really likes you and is happy, and is happy with the way you play, and they're like, he's a great fit for the band, he's very conscientious, blah blah blah, then they're going to work with you. They're going to make it work, right? Because they'll want you, right? If a band is like, oh, he's clearly too busy, it might be that you're just too busy, But if they're like, if they don't want to work with you because of the reasons that you stated, then oh well, that's whatever, that's their loss at the end of the day, so don't be afraid, like a band will be more than happy to take you on if they like you, I think. You know, like I'd be happy to work with somebody, you know, and try and fit our schedules around. If it's looking really impossible, I won't know if it's impossible until I'm actually like, right, you're in the band, let's figure something out.
Yeah.
Because if they want to be in the band, they'll also want to work something out too. They're not going to be like, I can't do this day because I am washing my sister's auntie's dog. Like, they're going to be like, I'll find somebody else to wash the dog. It's fine.
Aye.
You know? You know, if I have like, if I get into a band and they're like, we only rehearse on, the only day we can rehearse on is Wednesdays, I'm like, okay, cool. I teach on a Wednesday, but the beauty of being self-employed is I can just
Move it.
I can just negotiate, move them around, put them in another, you know,
Yep.
put them in another slot.
Yep.
And then there you go, done.
Yeah.
Easy.
People have lives.
People do have lives at the end of the day. You know, you have a life, and even the guys in the band, in the band, you know, everybody has there's a word for it. I can't remember. I think it's like a German word. So, like German has a lot of these like words that mean a very specific feeling. You know, like Schadenfreude. You know, it's getting pleasure out of somebody else's misfortune.
Okay, yeah.
As an example. But there's a word for it where you suddenly realize that everybody has a life that is just as complex, if not more complex, as yours.
Don't know.
No, I don't know. I don't remember what the word is. But that's just true. You know.
So once you've done the audition and you're on your merry way and they say, we'll let you know. Mm-hmm. What do you do if you don't hear from them? Call them 5 times a day. Leave voicemails. Stand outside their house and look in their windows.
Sneak into their house. Lie underneath their bed.
Yeah. Stand at the end of their bed at 3 a.m, just staring at them.
Have I got the gig yet?
Comment on family photos. You're like, happy birthday. You're like, do I have the gig yet? Question mark. Who is this? I'm not even friends with this person.
Oh, yeah.
Really creepy.
No.
If you don't
hear from them, well, I would probably message them. And if you don't hear from them again, that's probably for the best.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of shows they're not being. I mean, I don't know. They might be busy or whatever, but you know, it's you want to let people know. You don't want to leave people hanging. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It
probably means that they've chosen someone else and they don't have the cojones to
be like, hey man, we decided to go with somebody else.
Yeah.
Which already tells you a lot. You know, I'd rather just somebody be like, I'm not gonna get sad. I'm not gonna be like, right, well that's it. Goodbye world. I'm not a good bass player. I'm gonna end it all. Like, come on.
Do you want to laugh? There was a band I used to be in, and we played a couple of gigs, and we, or so I thought, sacked the guitars. We said, right, we don't require your services anymore. And
quite explicitly.
No. Well, I thought it was, but it wasn't. So it wasn't being handled by me. Otherwise, it would have been explicit.
Yeah. Knowing you, it would have been. Yeah,
but not in a horrible way. Just I would have made it clear where we stand. So about 3 years go by, right? And we've got the band chat, and we're getting gigs and stuff. And there's obviously messages coming up. We're getting messages on Facebook for gigs, and we get this message like 3 years after the guy's left, and he messages us in a group chat and goes, so I guess I'm not in the band anymore. And I was like, huh? And then I spoke to the person who supposedly dealt with this. Did you actually tell him he wasn't in the... Because we were booking gigs and just not telling him that we were going on these gigs. I assumed that it was all handled. And it was we just didn't invite him to rehearsals and gigs. That's how they dropped the guy. And I was like, what? So this guy, he messages out of the blue like, so I guess I'm out of the band. Because he was still getting notifications for band messages like, oh, can you do this gig? Can you do this gig? And we're like, yeah. And then he's like, 2 and 2 together. We're getting invited to gigs and I'm not. So clearly I'm not in this band anymore. Wow. Yeah.
That's sad.
Spineless.
That's actually awful.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I had no idea this was going on. Had no idea. I thought it had been handled. So I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes back to just be honest with people, for goodness sake. Honesty is the best policy.
Yeah.
Really. Because all it can breed is more honesty, really. It's a net positive almost.
Yeah.
In a way. Because if you try and subvert the truth in one way or another, then it gets out and then it creates problems and then whereas if you just put it out there, right?
Yeah.
And you say I get a message back and they're like, oh, we decided to go with somebody else. Thank you for coming along. I'm not going to be there like, oh, or whatever, and being really upset. Like, I'll just be like, okay, cool. It must have been somebody that was just a better fit. That's okay.
Aye.
I'm not bothered, either way. Like, at the end of the day, you just got to be happy for them because they found somebody,
Yep.
But yeah. So after the audition, basically, if you do get it, great, you're in a band. And if you don't get it, there's other bands out there, You could even start your own. And then what you can do after that is once you've started your own band, you can go back to episode 1 and listen to the whole thing. And then you'll have like the most like streamlined band ever. It's going to be so good.
Oh God, how to level up your band while you're actually building your band. Mm-hmm. That'd be a good series to do. Actually, what we could do is like starting a band. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do like here's a step-by-step walkthrough of how to build a band.
How to start
using the level up your band philosophy. We should do that. Should start a new series. For folk that are maybe starting a brand new band, like how to do things the right way from the get-go. It's basically what this podcast is all about.
Yeah.
But we can put it in a more condensed form over like 5 episodes or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we kind of did that way back at the beginning, but it was more aimed towards people who already had bands. But yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Something.
How to start your own band.
Yeah.
Genius.
Cool.
But yeah, those are some of my thoughts that I had about bands and auditions.
Well, there's a lot of people just over lockdown, commitments changing, people leaving bands, auditioning. Yeah. There's a lot of auditions, a lot of stuff happening right now with people's circumstances changing over the last year, and some members of the band are like more into it and some are less into it, and then everyone's kind of swapping in and out. So yeah, this episode kind of makes sense now because like there's a lot of auditions happening, I imagine, right now. Yeah. People selling off gear and to pay for rent and then buying it back now that they've got income or whatever. I remember at the start of lockdown, just going on like the drummers page, like there was drummers selling like their entire rig.
Entire kits, wow.
And guitarists selling all their guitars and amps and stuff because they're like, well, I'm not going to make any money anymore. So.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, it was like going through my mind a couple of times. I was like, I'm not going to gig ever again. Might as well just sell it all.
Yeah.
Or sell most of it,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad that I didn't do that.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons, because obviously it's not going to stay the same for forever,
Yeah, I've got picture proof, video, GIF proof of you and how miserable you are teaching, being a classroom teacher, and yeah, anything is better than that alternative, I think. Do you remember that early train ride you took to Dumbarton? Was it Dumbarton?
Yeah.
there's a picture of you at like 3 a.m, just staring into a mirror in the bathroom, just going like that. No, too early. And then a picture of you on the train, I think, and you're just kind of like, just like dying going to work. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I need to show you. It's funny.
Yeah, no, yeah, totally. That was a really, really dark time in my life, in my whole 25, well, I'm 26 now, 26 years of being alive. That was my lowest point.
Yeah.
Honestly, so bad. Don't get a real job, kids. Just fanny about in bands wherever. It's way more fun, and you can make a living out of it if you play your cards right.
Yeah.
Just listen to the podcast.
Yeah. Go back to episode 1.
Yeah.
Cool.
Totally. Cool. Yeah. So that sounds like a plan. Do a series on how to actually start a band from scratch.
Yeah.
And things to get right first thing, and things to avoid.
Yeah. Because like we have, obviously that is essentially what the podcast is.
Yeah.
You can take from that, but we can maybe get it in a really high concentrated, distilled form over 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Think about doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Magic.
Brilliant.
Cool. So yeah, that was good. That was a good episode. Yeah, it's not something I do very often, but it's good to kind of remember how to behave in audition, scenarios.
And you know what? And this goes back to one of the other episodes we're talking about auditioning people. You'll be able to spot these things, keep these things in mind, and you'll be able to spot them when you are auditioning people. It's like, oh yeah, they're doing this and they're doing that, and like, just a couple of good things to sort of watch out for.
Cool.
Nice
one. As always, please leave some reviews if you can on Apple Podcasts. I was on the other day and there's only three reviews.
3 reviews?
Only 3, but they're all 5 stars. So
is it from people we know or randos?
They're not written. They're just 5-star ratings. There's no written reviews.
Okay,
so
cool.
so they're like 5-star,
cool.
but I don't want to make myself known kind of people, which is fine. I'll take it. I'll take that. If you feel like literally just clicking a button and then clicking 5-star, it's literally 3 buttons away. Do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. I'd like to get to at least 10. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
At least 10. So I'm not asking for much. I don't know about anywhere else, but do it on Apple and follow us on Spotify. I was looking at some of the Spotify stats, and it's something ridiculous. It's like 20% of people who listen to us are actually subscribed on Spotify or actually follow.
Wow, cool.
So they come on. Only 20% of the listens we have. 20% of those people are followers. So there must be a lot of people coming on for like one episode and then checking out. So if you are listening to this and you aren't following on Spotify, just click a wee follow. We'll release an episode once a week, every Wednesday morning.
Goes without saying, if you are a follower, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
that's really cool. That you've stuck with us for, what episode is this?
76.
Is it 76? I got it right.
I think it's 76. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, like that's cool.
It's a lot of dang episodes.
I don't even listen to the podcast. Well, technically I do. I edit it, but yeah. I did at the start. I listened to like the first 10 episodes, and I was like, I've listened to this already. But why am I doing this?
I don't like listening to my own voice.
It doesn't bother me now.
I mean, like, it's fine, but it's just a bit. I don't know. It's a bit weird.
I realise my voice is. Your voice is perfect for listening to 1.5 or 2 times speed. It's fine. But mine doesn't work because I'm quite fast at speaking. So at 2 times speed, it's like, hello, my name is Gavin Powers, and this is the Level Up We Run podcast. It's like, it's so fast.
Ben Shapiro on speed.
Yeah, well, yes. What do you understand?
He already is on 2 times speed, mate.
Yeah. Anyway, listen to it on 0.5 speed. Now that's hilarious. Hi, my name is Gavin. Oh, it's horrible. Anyway, enough nonsense. So yeah, we might do a little distilled, level up your band from scratch
Yeah,
series.
totally.
That'd be quite cool. Maybe do that for next week. See if I can get something.
0 XP to like 9999 XP.
So until
Easy.
then, hope you have a fantastic week and see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.